So once again, let's go back down to ringside. Here's Tim Ryan and Gil Clancy. Gentlemen.
Down here at ringside, Tim Ryan and Gil Clancy again. And Gil, as we await the main event, and next to follow, of course, Roldán and Kinchen, I think some of the memories that you have aimed at this title fight are very important, because the last time welterweight moved up and won a middleweight championship, he was your guy, Emil Griffith, and that was a long time ago.
Well, Tim, he was the welterweight champion of the world. There wasn't any of those junior titles and three or four different champions. One champion. He was the welterweight champion of the world. Dick Tiger was the middleweight champion of the world. We challenged Tiger. He accepted. Griffith, on the morning of the fight, after a big breakfast, weighed 150.5 pounds. I didn't believe on bulking Griffith up, trying to make him stronger than he was. He was strong enough as it was. I wanted the speed, the mobility, and that's what Griffith used to defeat Dick Tiger. And he had him on the deck, had 150-pounder, had 160-pounder on the deck for the first time in Tiger's career.
So your counsel would have been, under normal circumstances, then to have the welterweight, in this case Sugar Ray Leonard, not try to move up in weight. Ray's response, I think, has been that he is now naturally a bigger man, that he wouldn't be 150, 152 pounds. He's walking around at about 165 these days.
Well, Tim, he's not a kid. He's 30 years of age, and I don't see all of a sudden why you should go from 147 to 162 walking around weight. He's not a big bone guy. I think I would like to have seen him about 152, 53 for this fight.
All right. Well, coming up next is Juan Domingo Roldán, ranked number 2 in the world. He'll be taking on James Kinchen. They are both ranked in the top 6 middleweights in the world by both organizations. And there is a look at Juan Domingo Roldán. Now, the last time most American boxing fans saw him, it was here in Las Vegas against the champion Marvin Hagler in the middleweight championship bout. And that fight had a number of odd occurrences during it. A bad poke in the eye that ultimately ended the fight, and a questionable knockdown that was credited to Roldán, although most people thought that it should not have been, and it was, in the record book at least, the first ever knockdown of Marvin Hagler. Marvin, of course, didn't accept it as a knockdown and considers he has never been to the canvas. That's Tito Lecturi, his manager and trainer, on the left. He retired, did Roldán, after the Hagler fight, but has come back successfully with 11 consecutive victories. 2 of them as a light heavyweight, the other 9 as a middleweight. Now here's James Kinchen, 37-2-2, 29 KOs to his credit, and James Kinchen has been a top-ranked fighter for some time and has been so far denied the opportunity to fight for the title. It grates on him. However, in his last bout against Iran Barkley, he was defeated and was set back in his quest for a title shot. So here tonight, as Kinchen, who came in, as did Roldán, at 161 pounds, with an allowable give or take over the 160-pound limit, Kinchen realizes that he can position himself again for another title fight, but he must get by the opportunity with a victory here against Juan Domingo Roldán of Argentina. The rules for this fight are under the Nevada Commission, 10-point scoring system in effect, 9 or fewer to the loser of a round. 3 judges will score the fight from ringside. And again, the count continues after the bell, except in the final 10th round. And in Nevada, if you're knocked down 3 times in a round, you are out of it. So our final preliminary bout of the evening, an important one. Let's go to ring announcer Chuck Hall.
Well, the next bout of the evening was Mr. Mel Grebb. The officials assigned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. The judges are Dalby Shirley, Jerry Roth, and Chuck Giampa. Your referee is Carlos Padilla. The next bout of the night featuring 10 rounds of boxing, once again in the middleweight division. Introducing, in the blue corner, hailing from Frede, Cordoba, Argentina, weighing 161 pounds, with a professional record of 60 wins, 3 defeats, 2 draws with 40 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Juan Domingo Roldán. And in the red corner, from San Diego, California, he too weighs 161 pounds. His professional record consists of 37 wins, 2 defeats, 2 draws, with 29 KOs. Introducing, ladies and gentlemen, James "The Heat" Kinchen.
Well done. Good look at James Kinchen. The referee for this bout, Carlos Padilla. The judges are Dalby Shirley, Jerry Roth, and Chuck Giampa.
10 rounds. You know the rules of boxing. Avoid using any kinds of foul. Don't throw any punches during the break. Is that clear? Ronnie, Joseph, you will be responsible for any misbehavior of your assistant seconds. Is that clear? Seconds, come out fighting.
So James Kinchen, ranked number 5 by the WBC, number 6 by the WBA, number 5 by the IBF. Roldán is number 2 in the World Boxing Council rankings, and number 5 in the WBA. He's 30 years of age, Kinchen 29, each of them knowing that time is marching on for them. The winner of this is still very much in the title picture. The loser would fall back considerably, as there are a lot of young middleweights coming along, the likes of Alajade and Nunn and Iran Barkley, several others that could take the opportunity from the loser of this bout. Kinchen in white, Roldán in red.
Tim, here you have the number 2 ranked middleweight in the world in Roldán. He's boxing an underneath bout in this great world championship fight between Marvelous Marvin and Sugar Ray. It reminds me of the time when Sugar Ray boxed Benitez and Hagler boxed the underneath bout against Vito Antuofermo. In 6 months, you can be watching this guy fight either one of these guys. The winner could be fighting for the championship of the world.
Well, that's a good point, Gil. And it cannot be lost on Roldán, who fought with a lot of guts and plenty of dangerous possibility against Marvin Hagler here in Las Vegas. But when he got the shot in the eye, thumb or otherwise, he just ultimately was unable to continue.
Switched the fight around completely, Tim. You know, Kinchen is a very, very good technical fighter. Watch him inside. He throws nice short punches, short combinations.
James Kinchen from McKinney, Texas, now lives in San Diego, California. 5-time Texas Golden Glove champion, 4 different divisions. Semi-finalist in the National AAU, so he had a real good amateur career. Halfway through round number 1, scheduled for 10, middleweight activity. Kinchen managed by Bob DiFilippi and trained by Eddie Futt, one of the respected names in the sport of boxing. Ed Lewis in his corner, a former pro. Tito Lecturi, Miguel Diaz, and Adolfo Robledo in the corner of Juan Domingo Roldán. From Freire, Cordoba, Argentina.
Roldán is missing, Tim. And by a large margin, not even close.
Roldán may not be so familiar to American fans apart from that one bout against Hagler, but he has wins over Teddy Mann, Frank Fletcher, and J.B. Williamson. At that time, Williamson a light heavyweight, and Roldán as well.
Tim, when he knocked Fletcher out, it was a devastating knockout, and it was in his same ring. He can punch, no question about that.
Kinchen was very disappointed after his loss to Iran Barkley. But he's getting another opportunity here against Roldán.
Well, in the Barkley fight, he just was not active enough. Barkley just kept getting the edge every round because he was the busier fighter.
Big right hand by Roldán as we approach the end of round 1, landed to the ear of Kinchen. There's a close-up look at the Argentinian. His manager and trainer, Tito Lecturi, is kind of Mr. Boxing in the country of Argentina. He had the great Carlos Monzon.
Tim, they have Roldán standing in the corner. I just don't like that at all for 2 reasons. Number 1, you can't attend to your fighter properly if he gets cut or whatever. Number 2, later in the fight, if he gets tired and decides to sit down, it's going to give the other guy a psychological edge.
Excuse me.
Here's Marvin Hagler coming into his dressing room, and that fight will follow. Hagler and Leonard, the main event, the super fight here at Caesars Palace tonight, the one everybody's been waiting for. 6 years in the making, which might be a record of sorts itself. You start talking about making a fight, comes to fruition 6 years later. And Ray Leonard, of course, having retired in the meantime twice in that 5-year period that followed the initial discussion, causing that long delay. And solid punches by Roldán to open round number 2, caught Kinchen. white trunks, red trim, and Roldán at the red trunks. Ryan and Gil Clancy with the pleasure of joining Jim Hill here in Las Vegas. A warning from Carlos Padilla to Kinchen, and Kinchen comes right off the warning with a scoring combination.
Well, maybe that will wake him up, Tim. He's just such a methodical fighter. That's his big fault.
Try against Hagler, decided that was enough for him, but then missed the ring, came back, campaigned a little bit as a light heavyweight, but 9 of his victories in the last 11 outings since Hagler have been as a light heavyweight, 2 as a middleweight, but he got down to the 160 for this important bout.
I noticed Roldán slipping around the ring, Tim. That can be just devastating to a fighter if you just can't get a good hold. There he wobbled Kinchen with a good right hand.
An overhand right. Got him on the cheekbone, and Kinchen's knees buckled, but he stayed up.
Strange with Kinchen. He's just so phlegmatic. He just doesn't seem to flare up at all.
Roldán waiting to load up on the right hand now. Roldán's head certainly an inviting target as he carries that left hand low, and he's right there in front of Kinchen.
But Tim, he moves his head pretty good, bends his knees. He's an elusive target, very deceiving.
Round 2 of this 10-round scheduled middleweight bout.
Incidentally, that's what Leonard told me that he was going to do with Hagler. So I'm going to stay in front of him, use a lot of body movement, move my head, make him miss and counter. So I'm not going to use my legs the way people think I'm going to use them.
Under the 30-second mark we go in this second round.
Same right hand again, Tim.
Another right hand, a lead scored. Roldán finding the target with that right.
There it is again. Time after time.
Final seconds of the second round. Looking in the corner of James Kinchen. We scored the second round for Roldán, who started to score with
James,
those
you're laying
rights.
back outside where he can hit
Listen to Eddie
with
Futch.
a long right hand. You've got to get in on top from him. You've got to get in on top. And once
let's take a look at that right hand of Roldán. There it is, right on the button, and you can see Kinchen wobble. Legs are still a little rubbery, backing up. There's another angle. There it is again, right on the button. It's a good thing these are replays. Poor Kinchen.
Well, still on his feet in his quarter, Juan Domingo Roldán. Kinchen's last outing was in October of 1986, the 10-round decision loss to Iran Barkley. Prior to that, he had 3 wins and then had lost in 12 to Schuler.
First right-hand lead by Kinchen by Roldán, hit Kinchen right on the fire. Just walked right there. He nailed him with it again.
We're in round number 3. It will be hard to believe that he could withstand those bombs for much longer.
What Kinchen has to do, Tim, is start pumping that jab and doubling it up. That'll take that right hand away from Kinchen. But he had better start doing it.
Roldán, but it hasn't happened.
Away from Roldán, right. Kinchen has to double that jab.
Put it up. Bring it up.
Ken Ryan with Gil Clancy and Jim Hill. We're at Caesars Palace, where it is a beautiful evening for the big fight. Hagler and Leonard to follow live around the world on closed circuit via satellite. 50 countries will be seeing the action tonight. Watching this bout right now, Roldán and Kinchen.
Kinchen is just being outworked.
Halfway
1,
through
2,
the third round.
no counter. Thought he was butted, Roldán. Checked his eye to see if it was cut.
Good right counter by Kinchen, and they both scored on the next exchange.
Roldán better have more ammunition than just that right-hand lead, because no matter what, after a while, Kinchen's going to have to figure something out so he can't get hit with it. That's all. That seems to be the only ammunition that Roldán has at the moment. Right-hand leads.
Certainly doesn't do anything with that jab. And he does move it, just kind of a paw. 30 seconds remaining in the third round, scheduled for 10. James Kinchen with wins over Buster Drayton, Alex Ramos, Billy Sullivan. During his career, knowing that this is the big one for him tonight. Good combination by Roldán.
And Kinchen flared right back, Tim.
Into round number 3. Well, we're looking now at the dressing room door of Sugar Ray Leonard as he prepares mentally and getting himself together for the big fight to follow against Marvin Hagler. And at this point, as we are inside the dressing room, there's Angelo Dundee, one of his 3 trainers, and I'm sorry, outside the dressing room. Inside, apparently, we're just told that they are having a family prayer session prior to the big fight.
You know, knowing Angelo, he signed a contract with Pepsi Cola.
He just did his commercial here.
Told you.
Your old friend and compatriot. How many times were you in the opposite corner? Do you remember offhand?
Too many, Tim.
Too many, huh?
We both got paid every time.
I won't even ask who holds the upper hand in the record matches against each other.
You know I'm way ahead of him.
It's funny, he told me just the opposite.
That's because he can't count.
This is round number 4. Juan Domingo Roldán and James Kinchen.
Tim, you're right. All Roldán does is paw with that left hand and throw wide right hands. I mean, that's not much of an attack to figure out. That was a good left hook by Roldán. But Kinchen just is not an active fighter. Another good slapping hook by Roldán.
Another right hand scored. Able to land it at will, and then every now and then he throws that left hook.
Kinchen's one of those guys, Tim. I've seen fighters like him to get back in the locker room after losing a decision. They'll say, "Gee, that guy can't fight. Get him for me again." I used to tell him, "You just had him." I mean, this is the time to do it, not tomorrow.
Well, that was pretty much his response after the Barkley loss.
Well, he's doing a rerun right now.
And yet, there's only 2 losses on his record, but got to learn to win the big ones. Right now, he's giving the edge to Roldán. We're in round number 4. Scheduled for 10.
And we know he has the talent, Tim. I've seen him throw some beautiful short combinations in the Barkley fight inside, but he's not using them. Oh boy, look at that call at the deer, huh?
You
stay back.
What weight division is he in?
How do you like that?
Show a little muscle backing up Roldán, too. As we look around this packed arena, you can almost feel it in the air. Even though the fans are enjoying the action here, there's an anticipation rather than an involvement. They're here for the Hagler-Leonard fight, that's for sure.
Tim, this is the toughest spot for two fighters to be in. Everybody waiting for that big super fight to take place, and these guys trying to entertain them. In the meanwhile, it's tough.
Final seconds of round number 4.
Put it up. Okay, here we go.
A little finishing flurry by Kinchen, but again on our scorecard, Roldán doing most of the work and most of the scoring. Judging, however, done at ringside by Dalby Shirley, Jerry Roth, and Chuck Giampa. If it goes the distance. Well, earlier, for those of you who were paying attention in arenas around the country, we pointed out this beautiful camera shot, which is from way up high, the corner of the Olympic Tower in the beautiful Caesars Palace Hotel, and it really presents a spectacular view. The traffic around Las Vegas and other buildings, and right in the center where all the action is tonight at Caesars Palace Stadium. And there's that cameraman giving us a wave. That's the view that he has of the fight. I hope he didn't have to pay for a seat there tonight, because unless he's got some high-powered binoculars, he's not going to see a whole lot, but he's given us a great picture. Round number 5, Tim Ryan and Gil Clancy with Jim Hill. Bringing you this middleweight action now. James Kinchen in the white trunks, Juan Domingo Roldán in red. Just to reiterate, in case I had confused anybody other than myself, in the comeback by Roldán since the Hagler fight, 9 of his 11 victories have been as a light heavyweight. So he has had to come down to make this 160 mark tonight, but doesn't seem any the worse the wear for it. In fact, as we've indicated, we've got him leading this bout.
Nothing sparkling, just on the work ethic, Tim.
Yeah. And a good combination by Roldán, backs up Kinchen. Kinchen showed against Iran Barkley he can take a punch going the distance against a heavy hitter like that, and he's taken a number of these heavy right hands from Roldán. And while he had his knees buckled once and appeared to be jolted severely a couple other times, he is still on his feet and has been in no apparent trouble.
Watch your head.
But he doesn't do anything to turn the tide, does he, Gil?
No, he never flares up, Tim. I mean, you know, if you were walking down the street, anybody, if you're walking down the street and somebody walks up and slaps you in the face, it's going to be an automatic reaction. You're going to hit him back.
Oh, I would turn the other cheek.
Oh, you would. Yes, you are. That I know for sure. But the average person would punch back. He gets hit. He just doesn't get angry. He doesn't flare up. No emotion. It's okay. Nice punch. That's a problem, you know, because I know he has the technical ability.
Well, it's the will to win, and that's going to play such a role in the fight to follow, Hagler-Leonard. What's so terrific about this sport, there's a lot more than the technical skills involved. It's great to have those, give you an advantage, but heart and will to win seem to really measure the great ones. Big right hand again by Roldán.
Tim, he's just walking in at will because he doesn't have to pay. If he misses, Kinchen doesn't count it.
Did land a right hand there.
Yeah, good jolting right hand.
Another right to the ear from Roldán. And another.
It's like chopping a tree down. He just he's boom, boom, boom with the right hand.
A little blood from the nose of Roldán as
Maybe
we come into the final seconds of round 5. A wild miss at the bell. No harm, no foul. Roldán heads back to his corner here as we rate round 6, and here's Ray Leonard having just gone down the aisleway to make a little visit, is now returning back to his dressing room proper. You read anything in those eyes, all you boxing fans looking in at home? I think there have been as many psychoanalysts observing the pre-fight this week as there have been boxing experts. Everybody trying to figure out where the minds of Hagler and Leonard are as they prepare for this big fight of their lives. Looking back into round number 5, the right hand of Juan Domingo Roldán, scoring at will.
You know, speaking of minds, Dr. Joyce Brothers from Rockaway Beach is a fight fan. You know, she won a big quiz show on television.
I remember that
about
years
boxing.
ago.
Now that's the one that should get to psychoanalyze these fighters.
That's
you know,
right.
These Rockaway Beach people know these things.
You wouldn't be from Rockaway Beach, would you? We're in round number 6, and toe-to-toe in the middle of the ring. Roldán putting some extra pressure on and unable to move back Kinchen. Another right landed.
Can't miss with that right hand.
Kinchen take a punch. That's been established.
Well,
another right hand. That moved him.
I'm telling you, it's like a lumberjack chopping a tree down.
I don't remember Kinchen being quite this vulnerable before, though, Gil, because he's technically sound.
Never. Well, Tim, he's not tonight. He just pushes that jab out. You can throw right hands over it. He's not snapping. He's not doubling it up. I mean, these are the things that you have to do, and I imagine that they're telling him that in the corner, but he's just not doing it. And you have, we also say in the boxing business, you have to jab with your feet. When you jab, you just got to move your feet in there. That way, you're taking away the guy's right hand. You can't pour out with your left hand. Stay right within punching range.
Well, I have to make this kind of interesting little projection here halfway through round 6. If Roldán wins, if Hagler wins and decides to go for Monzon's record, it is very conceivable that in a rematch between Hagler and Roldán, you would have Marvin Hagler making his 14th title defense against an Argentinian. And of course, Carlos Monzon holds the record, the great Argentinian middleweight champion of 14 successful defenses. Who knows what lies down the road after tonight?
That's right, Tim. And you know, despite the fact that Hagler already stopped Roldán, there was a lot of controversy because Roldán was doing very, very good.
Yeah.
Up until the time of either the punch or the thumb, when the glove or the thumb went into his eye.
A minute to go in round 6. Well, those are pure speculations, I grant you, but there is a certain amount of irony involved if they happen to occur. With Monzon, no doubt, would be at ringside for that bout. Great Argentinian middleweight champion. Years past, and it was handled by Tito Lecturi. And now Roldán.
Now Kinchen is starting to throw a couple of nice short little combinations inside.
Under the 30-second mark we go. The boxers have been getting at closer quarters in this round. Final seconds of round 6. Scheduled for 10.
Kinchen's left eye, Tim, is starting to close.
Well, he's had at least a dozen solid rights land on it. The end of round 6 as they rough each other up with a couple of low blows. Bell ending round number 6. Into the corner of James Kinchen. Let's listen to Eddie Futch.
Keep tail on your toes and keep moving, making them miss and counterpunch on you.
Nice up on that eye. Get something cold up on there.
Now you hear the voice of Dr. Klomansky looking at the eye.
James.
There's that end swell, Tim, on
keep that cold. You're doing
the
good.
left eye of James Kinchen.
Working on both ends.
Well, Tim, the end swell is a piece of metal that they keep in the ice bucket.
Here we go.
It's just the same as rubbing an ice cube on the eye, except that you can get more pressure with the end swell, and it just pushes the fluid out of the eye, and hopefully gets rid of the swelling.
Well, Dr. Klomansky examined it, and now they're pointing a little under the right eye, which is less of a problem at the moment for him than the left. Eddie Futch doing the work in the corner. And again, Roldán stood through the entire minute rest period. Round number 7, scheduled for 10.
He's just so much more active. than Kinchen. He's dancing, he's bouncing.
Roldán in red, Kinchen in white. Middleweight action, round number 6, scheduled for 10, as we said. And to follow, round number 7, pardon me, we're in the 7th round of this 10-rounder, and everybody here in the Caesars Palace Stadium just waiting for Hagler Leonard. They've been unable to get into this fight, and especially the fact that Roldán, being the better man, of course, he hasn't got a huge contingent of followers from Argentina here. James Kinchen has not given the local audience, or the American audience in this case, much to holler about.
Seems to be waking up a little bit now, though, Tim Kinchen. A little more snap on the jab.
Has scored 29 knockouts in his career. But whether he's got enough at this stage to suddenly stop Roldán would seem unlikely.
Hit Roldán a good right hand behind the neck, Tim.
Under a minute to go, round 7.
Did you see a tricky move by Roldán on the ropes? He came up with a right uppercut. Beautiful move.
A little more swelling under the right eye of Kinchen now. Most of that damage to that side from the left hook of Roldán. And
look at these punches that Roldán is throwing. You know, Tim, look at Kinchen stands up there, the perfect classic stance, beautiful balance, everything else, and yet a guy that looks awkward like Roldán is actually outboxing. It goes to show you that boxing is a very, very complicated sport.
Kinchen's eyes now swollen, both sides. Taking a lot of punishment.
Low blow by Kinchen, very low. And that is back to the referee, no warning.
Final seconds of the 7th round. Roldán continues to be relentless. Virtually non-stop punching by Roldán. You think back through the 7 rounds, he hasn't rested at all. Let's listen to Eddie Futch again in the Kinchen corner.
Oh, you give him 1 10th round.
Okay.
Okay. All right, James. Okay, guys, stay on your toes. Come out to move. I want you to try to catch him with a straight right hand after your jab. Jab, straight right hand. You got to step in a little closer. And you got to be first. You can't wait on him. If you wait on him, he'll always trick you into something. Yeah, take the play away from him. You got to be first. You got to be first, okay? And keep putting them together.
There's that right uppercut by Roldán. What a punch, Tim. Suckered Kinchen into that beautifully. There it is again. I said I'm glad these are replays for Kinchen's sake.
Yeah, he only got hit once by that punch, and we saw it twice. Round number 8 of the scheduled 10-rounder. Tim Ryan, Joe Clancy with Jim Hill, and it would appear to me, on our scorecard at least, that shutout is being pitched here by Juan Domingo Roldán. He might give the first round or even to Kinchen, but we've given everything else to Roldán.
And Eddie Futch, as we all heard, said you have to be first. You got to be first. As soon as the bell rang, Roldán came out and he was first.
Another of those sneaky little kind of half uppercuts he throws. And a big right hand. Another right hand.
And he's slapping Kinchen all over the place.
High energy from Roldán. It was obviously tremendously well prepared for this bout. He fought on February 6th of this year, a 4th round knockout of Tomas Polo back in Argentina. He has just not stopped. Fight began. Another right, snapping back the head of Kinchen.
Wobbled Kinchen a little bit that time, Tim. Little rocky.
Kinchen has not been stopped in his 2 defeats. That one landed right at the top of the head.
I don't think Kinchen's landed 4 solid punches the entire fight, and Roldán's walking around him with his hands down.
Little blood from the nose of Roldán. Nothing serious. He is in command of this bout. Barring the big punch from Kinchen, Roldán would appear to have seized the opportunity to get himself right back into the middleweight title picture. 1 minute to go in round 8. Another big right hand.
That was a hard right hand, Tim. A little more body into that one. Kinchen knows he's in trouble right now.
Roldán may not be elegant, but he's effective.
Darn right. He's so relaxed, and very, very relaxed guy inside. That was a new punch he just showed us then, right hand to the body.
Another right to the head. Kinchen is just virtually surviving at this point. Seems determined to stay in there, not go to the canvas. He hasn't experienced that yet, but Roldán's just taken the fight away from him. Final seconds of round number 8. And you can see the effect there as Kinchen didn't know what corner he was in. Had to check to see where his corner was.
Well, he got a little help from Roldán. He got hit right at the bell, turned him around.
Yeah, but he was uncertain. That is a tired, beaten-up fighter, as we remind you that very shortly now, marvelous Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard. The super fight for the middleweight championship upcoming here.
Here we see tricky Roldán. Look at that looping right hand, but look at the accuracy right on the side of the chin. And you know, we don't teach fighters to throw punches like that, Tim. He's a natural.
You can see the impact there, snapping back the head of Kinchen.
You got to go down on the knee. You got to keep your left hand high. And
Eddie
you can't
Futch.
stand up straight, see? Yeah, he's second down. All right.
Working on those swollen eyes of Kinchen, whose face does not look at all like it did when the fight began.
You know, Tim, if I was in Kinchen's corner, I'd have to tell him, look, you're going to have to let it all hang out. You have to win by a knockout. You know, there's no sense talking technical stuff when it gets this part of the fight. I mean, you know, that's just about what it is.
And again, the relentless Roldán comes out and sets a heavy pace and backs up Kinchen. Roldán has been a whirling dervish the entire fight, non-stop punching.
Doing anything he wants with him, Tim. Carlos Padilla is starting to take a good long look at James Kinchen.
Yeah, and he should be too, because he's just not even able to punch back, and when he does, got nothing on it. Now his left eye is starting to close up on him. Kinchen is just a beaten man, and Eddie Futch has come up. Eddie Futch has come up and stopped the fight. I think that is a commendable act on Futch's part. I think he has sensed for the last couple of rounds this man is going nowhere, and that was the kind and right thing to do. Do you agree, Gil?
I certainly do, Tim, no question about it.
Juan Domingo Roldán with a 9th round technical, well, it's not a technical knockout because it was stopped by Eddie Futch, the corner man for James Kinchen. I guess officially it does become a TKO, but not to the effect where the referee stopped the fight, but he wasn't far from it. Gil, you had just finished saying Carlos Padilla was looking very closely at James Kinchen. I think in another few seconds it would have been Padilla, not Futch, stopping the fight. So Juan Roldán moves to 64, 3-2, and at 106 of the 9th round, the fight is stopped, and Roldán suddenly finds himself in position for perhaps another middleweight title opportunity. And the irony of that, should it be against Marvin Hagler, and that remains to be seen, of course, the Argentinian could be in a position in the 14th title defense by Marvin Hagler, if he gets by Sugar Ray Leonard tonight. A big if indeed. And you saw some of the right-handed punching power of the victorious Juan Domingo Roldán. His manager and trainer, Tito Lectori, a very calm person, an old pro in the boxing business, but he's got to know suddenly he's got a hot property again.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go up to ring announcer Chuck Hull.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Carlos Padilla stops the bout at 1 minute 6 seconds of the 9th round. The winner by a TKO, Juan Domingo Roldán.
Juan Domingo Roldán is the winner here in the 9th round over James Kinchen. And now the buzz is in the crowd here at Caesar's Palace as they will be clearing the ring in what will be wild anticipation of the main event. More than 16,000 strong, paying up to $700 ringside, waiting for the big one. And right now, as we await the appearance of those fighters and the clearing of the ring here, we have a special guest with our host, Jim Hill.